My life before God was pretty hopeless. I'd gone through a lot of domestic violence and alcoholism at a very young age. My mother was an alcoholic, and my father, he was an abuser. I just always felt left out. I never really felt like I belonged anywhere, including my family. I didn't have many friends. I'd say around the age of 16, I was in high school, and I started meeting people and having friends, and they were, more of the party crowd. They liked to go out and drink and use drugs, and I'd say I was about 16 when I first experienced drinking and the party life. I'd say I was just getting ready to go into my junior year of high school when I moved out, and I moved in with my current boyfriend. He was a bit older than I, 16 years older than I, and I found out I was pregnant with my daughter when I was 17, and I graduated high school, and I wasn't drinking or using them, but I was involved in a lifestyle where there was a lot of drug trafficking. My children's father, I was pregnant with my youngest daughter when he was arrested for drug trafficking, and he was facing a lot of time in prison. And I knew at that moment that I didn't want to raise my children in that lifestyle any longer, and that I had a career and I was able to provide for my children. So I decided to leave my children's father, and shortly after I started dating another guy that I knew from my childhood. We all grew up in the same town. Well, there was a huge battle of the exes, I guess you could say, and my children's father was stabbed brutally by my current boyfriend. So I was involved in, and I was a co-defendant in an attempted murder charge against my children's father. And I had to go away for a little while, and I did my jail sentence, and I was released. The career was gone at that point. Not only the career, but my life as I ever knew it was over at that point. That's what I believed. It wasn't long after I met what I thought was the love of my life, and quickly moved in with him and started rebuilding my life and my family. We were business owners. I was able to stay at home with the kids, and he worked, and I did all the work from the office. But not long into the relationship after I moved in, it got to be very controlling, and there was a lot of domestic violence. For a very long time, I believed that I deserved everything that was happening to me. I deserved the abuse because of what happened with my children's father. I didn't feel I was worthy of love. I didn't feel that I would ever be forgiven. I couldn't forgive myself. So I stayed for several years, and there was a lot of hospital trips. I was not diagnosed, but I was prescribed a lot of pain medication from the abuse. And I lived in denial for a very long time about my addiction because I was prescribed the medication. I never fully thought that I was an addict. And I carried a lot of blame and shame and regret for a long time. It wasn't until I was homeless and living in the streets, and everything I didn't want my children to grow up in was a direct result of the lifestyle I lived. My daughters were with my mom, and I was homeless, living in the street. And I called my daughter right before Mother's Day, and I reassured her that this was just temporary and everything would be okay. And that's when she told me that I needed to go get help. And I needed to hear my daughter say that. And I went and got help. I found Hand in Hand recovery community for women. And Shortly after coming into the program, I was baptized. I started coming to Lake Eustis, and I was baptized. And it's not that I never believed in God, I just didn't feel that God believed in me. And I never thought that God would be able to forgive me for all the sins in my life. I had so many. I lived a very dark lifestyle for a very long time. About 2 months into the program, I was very sick. I was diagnosed with endocarditis, which was a direct result of the drug use. And the doctors didn't expect me to live through the night. And I think that's when I really started trusting God and leaning into God, because I was at the end of my road, and I'd been to jails, I'd been to institutions, and I was facing death. That was the first time I actually felt love, and I didn't feel ashamed of who I was or my past. The community really reached out, and all the prayers that started going out, and just all the love and support from the community of getting me back and forth to the hospital, being able to go back into the program and still work on my recovery and get the treatment I needed to live. I'll forever be grateful for that also. That's when I really started leaning into God. Everything that comes from God is good, and His saving grace and mercy, I wouldn't be here today. And I honestly struggled with coming in here today, and what should I say, or and it's really all about trusting God and knowing that all of the pain and suffering that I endured over those years, good's going to come from that. Nothing but good can come from that. Today I'm redeemed. The restoration of my life and my family, the love I have from God and my children. I have a good life today. I don't have to be held in bondage of my past. I don't have to be a prisoner of my past. I can live today and I can love today, and that is only by God's grace and mercy. To be still and to know that He's God. I don't have to run anymore. I don't have to hide anymore, and I don't have to live a life full of sin and that's only going to lead to death and destruction. And today I'm grateful for that.